the previous lesson, we learned about columns in Flutter, and then we used columns for aligning the child widgets in a vertical order. So now in this lesson, we will be working to further refine our Hello Flutter app. So let's get started. So now let's change this text so that it says welcome to Hello Flutter app. But first let's start debugging. And now let's change this first children to welcome to Hello Flutter app. So let's save this. Now if you see our completed version, then you can see that this welcome to Hello Flutter app is in bold. So we need to make this text bold, but this text styling is the part of another lesson. So I'll skip this for now. We will be only focusing on the layout of this Hello Flutter app. So if you look at the second children of this column, then you can see that there are two widgets inside of it. So let's try replicating this layout, and let me keep this over here. So instead of just writing second children over here, I want to create two elements over here. The first for the image and second for the text, but we will not be learning how we can load image in this lesson. This will be a part of another lesson. So let's skip this for now. So this part is for the image, and the next widget is for the text. So let me write this app is developed by Alex. You can also write your name over here, right? Now if I save the changes and see the output, you can see that the image widget and the text widget that we have created have a large space between them, right? And this is because our container's main axis alignment is set to space between, and each child is taking up equal space, and this is not what we want. Instead, what we want is that this image widget and text widget to be a single child of this column, so that this part is vertically aligned at the center. And you can see on this layout that these two elements are also vertically aligned, right? So we need to create another column widget and place these two widgets inside of it. So the column widget, and inside of this column widget, we will be placing this image and text widget so that they are children of this column widget. So by doing this, we now only have three child widgets in the primary column widget. So now we can see that our image and text widgets are placed vertically at the center, and this is because our primary column is treating this newly created column as a single element. Now if you look into this layout, you can see that there is a slight space between this widget, but our widgets are compact, and for this we can use the sized box widget. Now this is a simple widget that has very few arguments like height and width, and can be used to provide spacing between widgets. So I provided height 20, so I get 20 pixel spacing between the widgets. So that seems about right. Now there is a better way to wrap a widget by another widget. So let me show you how. So let's remove this column, and I will leave these widgets freely on the primary column. So now our design seems a little messed up. So now we need to place these elements inside of a column. But this time, instead of creating a column and then moving all these elements one by one, I'll select these elements and then press Ctrl and dot, and then I'll wrap it with a column. And so this is how you wrap one or multiple widget with another widget in an easier way. So now if I want to wrap this text within a container, then I can press Ctrl plus period and then wrap it within a container. Also you can select some frequently used widgets from this list. In order to use this wrapping technique, you don't even need to select the whole widget. You can keep your cursor on the widget and then press Ctrl plus period and wrap it with another widget. You can select container, column, rows, or any widget that you want. You can also use this light bulb icon for getting the code actions, right? It's the same thing. Now if I want to wrap this within column, then I get into the code actions and wrap it within column. I can also remove the widget in a same way. Say I don't want this text widget inside of this column, so I can click at this column, get code actions, and then remove this widget. Also let's remove this container because we do not need it for now. If you can't find this remove at the end of the list, it might be somewhere at the top. So let's look at the final version again. So we have completed the work on the first and second children except for loading the image, and we'll get to that later. So now let's work on this third children, and let's wrap that within container. So let's move into the text widget, get code actions, and then wrap it within container. Now this container has padding, so we'll be using padding argument for that. So let's provide 10 pixel padding on each side, and for that we'll be using edgeinsets.all, and then we'll be providing 10 pixel for it. Also this container has a background color and a border radius, so we'll be using decoration for it. So decoration, box decoration, and I'll be providing the highest intensity of blue for the color. So let's save the changes. Now if you see our container, then it's only taking up the width of the text. So let's provide full width for our container using double dot infinity as a width. So width equals to double dot infinity. So now let's provide a circular border radius for our container. For that we'll be using the border radius argument. So border radius equals to border radius dot circular, and we'll be providing radius of 20 pixel. So that seems about right. And this background color of the container does not seem to match the original design. So let's keep it black. Let's see the output. So that seems about right. So when we provided black color to the container, the text has disappeared because text is also a black color. So in the next lesson, we will be working on styling the text, and also we will be working on rows in Flutter. So I'll see you at the next lesson. In this lesson, we'll be working with text styling and rows in Flutter. In the previous lesson, we changed the container color to black, and then our text is black by default. So our text has disappeared in this container. So let's try changing the text color to white. Now if you want to customize your text, then you need to tap into the argument called style. And this style will expect text style. And inside of this text style, we can use various arguments. Press Ctrl and space, and you'll be provided with all these arguments that can be passed. Now we want to provide white color, so we'll be using color and then colors.white. Now this will provide white color to our text. If you want to make this text bold, then you can use the argument of font weight and then use font weight dot bold. Now this will make our text bold. You can also change the font size from this text style. So for that, tap into this font size property and then provide the pixel that you want this text to be. So if I type 14, then my text will be changed to 14 pixel. Maybe it was 14 pixel by default. So if I change to say 34 pixel, then my text will be changed to 34 pixel. So let's have a look at our completed app. So here you can see that this welcome to Hello Flutter app is bold. So let's change this to bold. So this is the text. So we'll be tapping into the style argument and then the text style. And inside of this, we'll be passing font weight equals to font weight.bold. If I save this, I'll be getting a bold text over here. We also need to change this text to bold. So let's move into that text, provide the style argument, text style, and then font weight equals to font weight.bold. So we have changed our text styling to bold wherever required. So the only thing left for our text customization is providing the custom font to our text, and that will be covered in the next lesson. So for now, let's work on the rows system of Flutter. So these rows are used for aligning items in an horizontal order. The columns are used for aligning items in a vertical order or in y-axis, and rows are used to align items in an x-axis or horizontal order. So now let's remove this text and change it to row. So let's see where the text has ended. So if you click at the open parenthesis, you will get the end of this parenthesis. So let's remove this and replace it with row. Now this row is similar to column. It also has children, and it also has main axis alignment and cross axis alignment. So inside of the children argument, there can be multiple widgets. So let's create some. So let's create 3 text widgets over here. So let's change the container color to something else so we can see the widgets. So colors.red. And here you can see that our widgets are aligned in a horizontal order or in x-axis. So this is the difference between the row and column. Row will look for the x-axis and column will look for the y-axis. You can also use main axis alignment and cross axis alignment in a similar way that you used with column. So if you want this widget to take up the equal space, then you can use main axis alignment and then main axis alignment dot space around or space between. So if you look into our completed code, then you can see that there are 2 children inside of this row element. So let's remove this third widget because we do not need it now. So let's remove this, and we also don't need this main axis alignment dot space between for now. So the first widget will be the image and the second widget can be the information of the developer. So let's change this widget 1 to image and this widget 2 to developer information. right? So if you have a look at this finished version, then you can see that the second component or the second child of this row has 3 text widget in a vertical order. So we need a column for our second child in our row. So instead of this developer information, we'll press Ctrl and period, and then we'll be wrapping this with column. So this is developer information, and we'll be having 3 text. So let me replicate this for 3 times, and now we have this developer info printed out for 3 times. So this will be the developer name, so Alex. This will be the Flutter developer, and then this will be the website of Alex, www.something.com for now, right? So let's save this, and here you can see that the developer information has been aligned in a vertical order. Now if you look into this completed version, then you can see that the items inside of this column are aligned at the start of the column, but in our case it is at the center. So let's use cross-axis alignment because we are trying to change the horizontal axis, right? So let's use cross-axis alignment for keeping our items at the start of the column. So for that, let's go into the column and use cross-axis alignment, and then cross-axis alignment dot start from where the column has started. So this will bring all the elements at the start of our column. So that's about right. So now let's provide some spacing between the image and the developer information. So for that we will be using sized box. So sized box, and we will be providing the argument width, and width will be of 20 pixel. Now if I save this, then you can see that I have got a beautiful spacing between them. So in our completed version, this padding of this container seems to be a little bigger. So let's increase the padding of our container. So instead of 10, I'll be providing 20 pixel. And now it seems alright. So now let's change the background color of this container. So instead of red, I'll be providing the black color. And now I need to change the color of our text as well. So I'll be providing the style argument inside of this, the text style, and then the colors.white. And I'll be doing same for all of these texts, and also for this image text. So let's provide style over here. And in our design, this developer name is in bold, so let's change this to bold. So for that we will be needing this font weight and font weight dot bold. So now we have replicated most of our design. Now in the next lesson we will be working with assets in Flutter, meaning that we will be loading images and fonts in Flutter. So I'll see you at the next lesson. So in this lesson we will be working with assets in Flutter. We will be learning how we can load images and fonts in Flutter. But before we proceed with the images and font, I want to clear all of these informational messages. I want to accept all of these suggestions. So seems like there is a suggestion for my app. So click it here, click at the bulb icon, and then accept this suggestion. Now I have another suggestion over here. So click at this and then add const modifier. Now I have got a lot of suggestions and this is interfering with my code. So I'll click at any of this widget, I'll click at bulb icon, and then I'll add const modifier everywhere in the file. And then wherever I get this, I click at the file, I click at bulb icon, and then add const modifier everywhere in the file. Now by doing this, I'll be getting rid of all this information, and by doing this my app performance will increase as well. So now let's get started by using assets in our Flutter project. For that we need to create a new folder in our root directory. So new folder, and we will be naming that as assets. Now inside of this assets, let's create two folders, images, and then again new folder, and then fonts. Now we will be keeping our fonts inside of this folder and images over here. So now let's get started by loading images first, and then we'll get to the fonts later. So now let's download some of the images for our project. Now I have searched this Flutter PNG image in Google. Now you can click at this tools, color, and then transparent. So you get only the transparent images. So let me select this image. So this is a transparent image, right? So right click, open image in new tab. So we have got an image with an PNG extension. So we can use this image in Flutter. So whenever you are searching for the image, make sure you download this PNG or JPEG image. Alright. So let's save this in our Flutter project. So right click the image, save image as, and then you want to navigate into the folder of your Flutter project. So in my case it is at the desktop, Flutter project, hello Flutter, And then inside of this assets and images folder, I'll be keeping this image. Now I want to change this image to Flutter underscore icon. Now let's save this. And now you can see that inside of this images, I have this Flutter icon.png. Now I can use this image in my Flutter project. Now in Flutter, we cannot use images or any assets directly. We need to define the location of the asset in our popsec.yaml file. So this popsec.yaml file holds the information of our project, and it also holds the information of the SDK and dependencies that are being used in this Flutter project. Alright. So now if you navigate into this line, you can see that there is an information in our popsec.yaml file. To add assets to your application, add an asset section like this. So I want you to select all of these lines and then press Ctrl and /. So this will uncomment these lines. So I want to remove this file and replace these images with assets/images and then a /. Now save this file, and then you can now close this file and navigate into this main.dart. So whenever we make change in our popsec.yaml file, it is regarded as a major change. So we need to perform hard restart, meaning that we need to stop debugging and then start debugging again, so that a new version of our app is installed with the reflected changes. Alright, so stop the debugging process and then we can start it again. Alright, so now we will be changing this image to this Flutter icon. So now let's replace this text widget with an image widget. So image, and as we are trying to load image from our asset, we will be typing image.asset. Alright, and inside of it we will be providing the location for our image. So our image resides on assets/images and then Flutter underscore icon.png. Make sure you do not provide any / over here. And here we are getting an error saying that we are trying to use this const modifier over here, but in image.asset we cannot use this const modifier. So whenever you get an error like this, then you should try removing this const modifier. So let's remove this and let's save our code. Alright, now you can see that my image has appeared over here. So if in your case it has not appeared yet, you can try this hard restart or hot restart. Most of the time this hard restart needs to be done. Alright, so our image is loaded, but it is taking a very big space in our app, right? So we can determine the height and width of this image. So for that we can use height and provide the height in pixels. So if I want it be of 100 pixel, then I can write height 100, and then this will be resized to 100 pixel and width will adjust automatically. Alright, now we need to load image again over here. So let's copy this widget and then let's paste it over here. So instead of this text, we'll be writing an image. So we cannot use this const modifier over here, so let's remove this as well. So let's save our code. So we are loading the same image, and I have already downloaded another image from the internet, this luffy.png image. So I'll be using this image instead of this Flutter image over here. Alright, so you can also go ahead and download another image for using it here. So instead of Flutter icon.png, I'll be writing luffy.png. And now let's change this width to 50. Alright, so this is how we load images in Flutter. Now there are two ways for loading images in our Flutter application. The first way is to download images and keep it in the assets folder. And another way is to load image directly from the internet, and you can do so by using image.network. So let's remove this and type image.network, and inside of this we can provide the URL of the image. So navigate into the browser, search for an image, get the URL and paste it over here. So I've searched for this avatar image in Google, tools, color, and then transparent. And now you can select any of these icons. So let me select this. Open image in new tab, copy the link, and then you can paste it over here. Alright, let's save this. And here you can see we have got an image of our network. Alright, and you can also determine the height. So height be 50. So this is how you work with images in Flutter. Alright. So in the next lesson, we will be working on loading fonts in our Flutter application. So I'll see you at the next lesson. So in the previous lesson, we were able to load images from the assets folder and the network. Now in this lesson, we will be working with loading fonts in Flutter. So let's get started by bringing up some fonts in our project. Alright. So navigate into fonts.google.com. So we'll be using Google Fonts for it, and it has variety of fonts. So this will be okay. But you are free to choose any font from the internet. Alright. So navigate into fonts.google.com, and then you can search for any font. My best font is the Poppins font. So let me search for it. Now here you can see the Poppins font. Click on this font. This Poppins font is my personal preference, and you do not have to use this font if you don't want. You can search for any font and continue with the same process. Alright. So navigate into the font and download family. Once it is downloaded, open up the folder. Now extract the zip file. And once it's done, we'll be selecting only two fonts for our project. The Poppins Bold and then the Poppins Regular. Now when you are selecting this font, you can go ahead and select all of this font, but using all of these fonts will increase our application size. So this italic, semi-bold and other font options can be adjusted in Flutter by font size and then the font style. So we do not basically need all of these styles. This will eventually increase our application size. So let's copy these two fonts and then paste it over in our directory, in our project directory, assets, and then fonts folder. So here are two fonts that I have selected inside of my project directory, assets, and then fonts. Alright. And now I can see that these fonts are available over here. Now we need to include the font location inside our popsec.yaml file, like we did with the images. Alright. So navigate into this popsec.yaml file and then scroll below and you will get this line fonts. Alright. So I want you to select this line up to this style and then uncomment it using Ctrl and /. So now we need to make some changes over here. Our font family name is Poppins. So let's keep that here. Let's make it capital. Alright. And then our fonts are located inside of this assets folder and then the fonts. So assets / fonts. And then let's copy this font name and paste it over here, and make sure while you are copying the font name, you are copying exactly the same. If there is something in capital and you provided the lowercase, then our project might crash. This popsec.yaml file is very sensitive, so we do not mess around with it. So let's copy this file name and paste it over here so that we do not make any case sensitive issue. Alright. So rename, copy, and then paste it over here. Alright. Let's do same with this Poppins Regular. Rename, copy, and then paste it in our font. And this will be the location of assets and then fonts. And let's remove this style as we do not need it for now. And then save our popsec.yaml file. Now whenever you save this or make changes to this popsec.yaml file, I want you to hard restart your Flutter app so that everything are included in your APK package. Alright. So let's stop debugging and then start debugging again. And as I was at this popsec.yaml file, I'm getting this error. So switch to this main dot and then start debugging. So now we are ready to load fonts in our text widget. Alright. So let's get started by changing this font style to Poppins. So for changing the fonts, let's tap into this style property and then the text style. And inside of this text style, we can see the argument responsible for changing the font. So it's not background, it's actually font family. Alright. And the font family is the one that we have included in our popsec.yaml. So in my case, it's Poppins. So Poppins. And make sure this font family is exact match with the popsec.yaml file. Alright. So once this is done, let's save our code. And here you can see that Poppins font is loaded in our app bar. Now we can do this similar for all of this text widget. So let's copy this font family, and these other widgets already have a style in them. So let's paste it over in our style argument. Alright. So let's save this. And here you can see that the font style has been changed to Poppins. Flutter also allows us to use multiple fonts in our project. For that, we need to specify other font family in our popsec.yaml file. So if you want to use another font, you can copy this font family and then paste it over here. Now when you are pasting, make sure that this indentation matches. Alright. Now if there is any error, then our popsec.yaml file will crash. So you need to be super cautious. So for matching this, we need to bring this font family over here. So now it is a vertical match, and this font is also a vertical match, and this asset and this dash is also in vertical match. So now we are ready to load our new font. So we need to repeat the process of bringing up new font and keeping it inside our assets/fonts directory. So I have downloaded this new font called Dancing Script from Google, and there was only one variation of this font. So you can see that I have only one font over here. So this has a very large name, so let me rename this to cursive. Yes, it is kind of a cursive font, so cursive. And now our font family will be cursive. So the font I had downloaded previously was Dancing Script, but I renamed this to cursive, and I am using this font family cursive, and it does not matter. It does not have to be the exact name of the font. Make sure that you use the same family name while working with widgets and providing the font family. Alright, so in my case it's cursive, and the font location is cursive.ttf, and let's remove this and let's save our popsec.yaml. So focus in this main.dart and then start debugging. So now instead of using this poppins family, we can use cursive font family. Let's save this, and here you can see that my font has been changed from poppins to cursive. So let's make this font size a little bigger. So we'll be providing font size over here, but my code is moving in the right side, so view and word wrap. And now the font size. Now if I save this, here you can see the updated result. So in this way you can use multiple fonts in Flutter. But in case you are not planning to use multiple fonts and you do not want to always specify this font family in the text style, then there is a better way for using the single font. For that we need to specify the global font in our material app. So inside of this main.dart, navigate into this material app, and inside of it there is an argument called theme that expects theme data, and inside of it we'll be providing font family to cursive. Now if we save this, all fonts have been changed to cursive. By providing this font family in this theme data, you can specify the primary font in your app, and wherever you want another font, then you can override the font family. Alright, and this is how you work with fonts in Flutter. But in our finished version we are only using the poppins, so let's keep this primary font to poppins. Also let's remove this cursive style from here. So let's remove this and change the font size to 14. Now here you can see that we have successfully replicated the Hello Flutter app. So now there's only one thing that needs to be done in this app, and that is to refactor or split our code into multiple files. Now if you have a look at this main.dart file, you can see that our code base has grown, right? There are a lot of code. So to make our code maintainable and easier to read, we need to split this larger code into multiple files. Alright, so in the next lesson we'll be learning how we can refactor or use multiple files for a single code base. So I'll see you at the next lesson. So we are almost at the end of our Hello Flutter app. Now the only thing remaining to do is to split our code into multiple files. Now it is important that we split our code, because as code base increases, it becomes difficult for us to manage our app through a single file. It's almost impossible. So in this lesson we will be learning how we can split our main.dart file into multiple other files, so that it becomes easier for us to maintain our code and easier for the development, right? So if you have a look at this app, you can see that everything that is inside of this app is inside of this column, right? So this is the first child, this is the second child, and this is the third child, right? So inside of this column, the first child, the second child, and the third child. Now it would be a good idea to split this child component into their own Dart file. Alright, so let's get started. So let's create a new file inside of this lib folder. Anything that is related to our code should be inside of this lib folder, otherwise it will fall out of our project scope. Alright, so right click at this lib folder and then new file, and I'll be naming it a child_1.dart. Now this file will hold the data for the first component of the column or the first child of the column. So if you have a look at this main.dart file, you can see that the first element or the first child of this column is a text widget. So it is a widget, right? So we need to create a custom widget in this dart file so that it can be imported inside of this main.dart file. So let's see how this can be done. Now for creating a custom widget, we need to create a new class that extends this stateless widget. Now in our previous lesson, we saw how we could create a class by extending this stateless widget. Now in this lesson, we will be doing the same for this child one. Alright, so let's navigate into this child1.dart and let's create a new class. And the class name will be child1. So class child1 extend stateless widget, like we did previously. But there is a better way for creating stateless widgets. So instead of typing everything, let's clear this up and type STLESS, meaning stateless. Now this Flutter will suggest this stateless widget. So click at this. So here you can see Flutter has created a custom stateless widget for us. So this is basically the same thing that we did inside of this main.dart file. So class myapp extend stateless widget, const super.key, and everything that we did previously is automatically printed out by this stateless Flutter command. So now we need to change this class name to child1. So child1, and we need to change the name of this constructor as well. So child1 extend stateless widget, and this is the constructor. So let's save up our code. So now we will bring this first child from this main.dart to child1.dart. So let's find this first child, and it is right here. So let's cut this and then we will paste it over here. So instead of returning this placeholder, we will be removing this and then we will paste our code and ends within semicolon. So here you can see that this text widget is showing an error because we have not imported this material.dart package, right? So click at this bulb icon and then import material.dart, and everything seems fine. Let's save this code. And now in our main.dart file, we need to import this child1. So child1, and click at this child1, control and dot, or you can click at this bulb icon and then import package hello flutter / child1.dart. So let's save this, and you can see that we have splitted our one component to another file. Now we will be doing the same thing for our second and third component as well, so that our code seems cleaner and each of these child element has their own respective file. Alright, so let's create a new file inside of this sleeve. That will be the child_2.dart. Now inside of this file, we will be creating a new class called child2 that extends the stateless widget. So just type STLESS and Flutter will provide you a suggestion. But instead of doing this, let's copy the already made widget from child1 to this child2. Alright, let's save this. So now we need to change the class name from child1 to child2. So let's rename this as child2, and let's copy this and let's paste it over here. So I want to show you a feature of Visual Studio Code that will help you edit multiple words at once. So if you want to change this child2 and this child2 at once, then you can select this first word child2, Control D, and then multi-cursor will be activated, meaning that you can modify this both word at once. So if I change this, both will be changed. Alright, so now let's bring up this second child from this main.dart file, and now let's import this child2 to our main.dart. So child2, and then control and dot, or click at the bulb icon and then import. Alright, and now let's do the same for this child3 as well. So let's copy this and paste it over here so that a copy will be created. Rename it to child3. So child_3, and then let's change this class, Control D, so that multi-cursor will be activated, and then child3. Alright, now navigate into this main.dart, got everything that is inside of this container, click at the open parenthesis and you will be seeing the end. So this is the end. So got everything, and then inside of this child3, instead of this column, you can paste it over here. So save this code, end it within semicolon, save this code, and then we can bring this child3 over here. So child3. Now we need to import this, and this does not end with semicolon inside of these children. So control dot and then import. Alright, let's save this. Now if you look into our app, there is nothing changed, but we have drastically changed our main.dart file. Right? Now if you want to make some changes in this part of the file, then you can simply navigate into this child 2 and make changes. You do not have to search for this code in our main.dart. So splitting our code into multiple files will help us make our code maintainable and readable. Also, our main.dart file seems a lot cleaner than it was previously. To make this main.dart file even more cleaner, what we could have done is that we could have splitted this container component into its own separate file. So let me give you a simple challenge. I want you to create a separate file for this container widget. Create a new file inside of this lib for this container and use that class inside of this body instead of this container. Alright, so I'll see you at the next lesson where we will be providing a final touch up in our Hello Flutter app and we will be moving towards more advanced stuff. So I'll see you at the next lesson.